Welcome to the Mail Today Fashion Summit, an event where the policy makers and the stakeholders engage and take up the most crucial issues facing the fashion industry. Organized and presented by Mail Today in association with Cosmopolitan and Company, powered by NIFT, Khadi Village Industries Commission and Ministry of MSME.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the Mail Today Make in India Fashion Summit in association with Cosmopolitan. To begin with the formal proceedings of the event, I shall request Mr. Chengappa to kindly deliver the welcome address.
I should say good afternoon, everyone. Union Minister of Textiles, Ms. Smriti Irani, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the India Today Group, I am delighted to welcome you all to this Mail Today Make in India Fashion Summit done in association with Cosmopolitan, another major publication of the India Today Group. The India Today Group supports the initiative of the Indian government and the industry to promote Indian handloom and fabrics like Khadi and to preserve and build the unique talent and art of handloom from different regions like Varanasi and the Northeast. One of the objectives of this fashion summit is to discuss how designers can make these fabrics and garments not just nationally popular, but also internationally famous, and boost the handloom sector while promoting this unique art form. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure, and please join me in extending a very warm welcome to one of the most charismatic and dynamic ministers in the Union Cabinet, Smriti Zubin Irani, Union Minister of Textiles.
Normally, you would not say this first, but since this is a great fashion summit, I just have to sort of compliment you on your sort of outfit today. Can you please tell us who you're wearing in like typical Oscar style? And is there any great sort of tale behind what you've picked to wear today?
I'm wearing nobody. Anybody who's known me as an actor also knows that I've never had a very conscious decision-making process with regards to the textile that I wear. But I think that is largely what the Indian approach to textile has been. Whereas internationally, you've always had color palettes, or for that matter, even designs and how a particular costume is to be framed and is popularized. In India, jo man ko bhaya, you pick up, you wear, and you move on.
What has been the key thrust areas that you've been focusing on in your ministry?
So as a textile minister, my endeavor was not only to celebrate the legacy of the fabric, legacy of the weave, or for that matter, the handcrafted opportunities that the industry has. One also needs to complement it with ensuring that the retail trade, or for that matter, the heavy industry aspect of textile is not shortchanged, and everything grows simultaneously. So I think that is one of the key changes that I try to bring into my office. The challenge with textile is that when I talk about farm to fabric, the farm aspect administratively, constitutionally comes under the ambit of the agriculture minister.
You have sort of made the term handloom cool. You know, you like sort of gave it its own selfie status, hashtag, etc. Number one, all of this buzz which was happening on the sort of internet, Twitter, Instagram, etc. How did that translate into actual sort of business? And two, how did it really have this large-scale global impact? Because people were like, in like fact, Sunil sort of Sethi was there, Suket Dheer, Milind Soman was also part of it. What all, I mean, did it actually lead to actual cash, money being made, sort of revenue, etc.?
I think two things have to be said, that in terms of anybody who's been in the business of media management and marketing needs to understand that any such idea which comes to the fore, which is very popular, there's always a study done, आपने कितना campaign पे खर्चा किया कि इतना बड़ा campaign हो गया? And I said, 1 rupaya kharcha nahi kiya. I think one of the biggest things that we celebrate in the ministry, we had 3 youngsters sitting, and I told them, I said, if I want to give a big thrust to handloom, first there has to be a pride that is instilled in the legacy that you have inherited in terms of textile. How do you instill that pride? How do you get that conversation going? And we attached the hashtag to the handloom. But the impact was that Twitter confirmed for us that this became one of the most successful campaigns online.
What,
And
22 million, right? Impressions?
yeah, and
Was
we
that-
had 45 million impressions. I think 1 out of every 4 person in the world supporting it, let alone India. So I was happy that not only were Indians supporting it, I had photographs from the Australian ambassador put up online that even we are having a handloom day at the embassy. So those are ones that we really celebrated, and were very shocked to see that the story went beyond India. The appreciation went across the world.
Do you think that we should now call a handloom product, should it be termed as a luxury product? Is that what we are heading to?
No, I think we have all different categories. We cannot make a mistake. I cannot say because I deal with domestic or you deal with international, you are better, that better, or you make it cheaper, you have a pride, or you make expensive, you don't have a pride. I think we really need to coexist and we need to do what we can do at the best. And if you have to think as a pyramid. There's a top of the pyramid, there also going to be, there are people, there is a satisfaction, you want to make that many garment with that kind of expensive price, and I'm happy with it. I don't want to grow. I want my weaver's son to become weaver, or I also want my kid to become weaver. How will they become weaver? Because I need to create enough role model. I need to say if you work hard, you can also become like IT. The business is enough lucrative.
Somehow in an emerging economy like India, just expensive was considered luxury, just because it is so expensive. If I'm spending so much time in making such a product, it should last. And if it has to last, then bleeding and all the other quality issues have to be addressed. And when you're addressing those issues, the product will become expensive. I chose to pick up our handloom and start running with that, and then presenting it to them that what else can be done with the Indian handloom at a global stage.
When I started designing, I felt that, I'm good at doing this, but, if I'm looking at something which is new to the market or which has to be seen not just in India but overseas, it was important for me to find the right market for it and the right people to do it for me.
I came here with details of what NIFT is, of the fact that we've been around since 1986 and that there are 6 undergrad programs and 3 postgraduate programs, and that we also are doing research, and that we are a statutory institute under which has the President of India as visitor. All in all, a fascinating mix. Coming into NIFT, I thought it was all about high fashion. And the first lesson that I get is that this is actually a very interesting and very happening institute of learning, and that the learning that is coming in is it's very technical on the one hand. It provides an understanding of textile, of fashion, of communication, of management, of entrepreneurship, of aesthetics. And moving beyond that, it also provokes creativity. And ultimately, it's perhaps also deals with communication. There is a huge dimension in terms of the varieties of vocations that NIFT can actually help its graduates to come through. And we need to get the world to sit up and notice Indian fashion, while our designers and our entrepreneurs and businesses would be doing quite a bit of it. I believe that NIFT also has a role to play. It's a role that we've got about 30 MOUs with institutes across the world. And we have also been seeing that when we bring people in and we're coming in for student exchange or faculty exchange programs, the fascination with Indian textile and Indian craft is something to be seen, to be believed. So every time we've factored in a study tour, it has met with immense response. So it's obviously an area that we can explore and develop further. Hoping to do in NIFT. Hopefully, if you do the summit one year down the line, we will have much more to offer. But this is it for now. Thank you so much.
So there's a financial storm going on in India after demonetization, and this is across India now, in UP especially, and in your area of work, MSME, there are millions of workers and people who run small units. They have been, obviously sucking away 86% of cash from the economy would hurt them. How is that being addressed?
ये बात सही है कि एटीएम हैं और कुछ कैश लेने की आवश्यकता पड़ रही है तो लाइन लगा रहे हैं लोग। जैसे जैसे बैंकों में करेंसी पहुंचती जा रही है वैसे वैसे लाइन भी कम होती जा रही है। जैसे जैसे नोट्स का सर्कुलेशन मार्केट में चालू होता जा रहा है, चालू हो जाएगा और मुझे लगता है कि जल्दी शुरू हो गया है, तो वो सारी चीजें भी समाप्त हो सकती हैं। तो कुछ कठिनाई जरूर है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि 51 दिन का 50 दिन का समय मांगा है प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, उसके पहले ही काफी समस्या का समाधान हो जाएगा।
Khadi being a handloom, would you be able to supply that kind of volume and on time?
हमारी कोशिश ये है कि खादी, शुद्ध खादी लोगों को दिया जाए, और खादी थोड़ा महंगा जरूर पड़ता है, लेकिन हमारा प्रयास है कि शुद्ध खादी लोगों को प्राप्त हो। भविष्य में इसको देखता हूं कैसे हो सकता है, लेकिन हम खादी को ही आगे बढ़ाने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। लगभग अधिकांश एयरपोर्ट पर खादी का शॉप शुरू हो गया है। माल की तरफ भी लोग अग्रसर हो रहे हैं। हम अपने नियम में छूट कर रहे हैं ताकि खादी के लिए लोग माल में भी ले जाकर करने की कोशिश करें तो करें। तो प्रयास ये है कि खादी अधिकतम मात्रा में लोगों के पास जाए, अच्छी खादी जाए, अधिक से अधिक लोग इसमें इन्वॉल्व हो सकें और खादी का प्रोडक्शन की दृष्टि से भी अच्छी अच्छी संस्थाएं आएं, ये हमारा प्रयास है।
We are very proud to be associated with KVIC, and Ms. Berry feels very honorable to be the advisor for Khadi Village Industries and Commission. This is where we just talking about Khadi, how historically this is associated with India and its development, how the turnover and sales of Khadi have gone, and how sort of initiatives that we've been taking for the employment sector, like how we can generate employment by just promoting Khadi. This is the collection at KVIC by Ritu Berry. Some myths that we keep in mind when we think about Khadi, that it's only for summers or winters. Then Khadi, there's some myths that we've just jotted down, but what people associate with when they think about Khadi. We've got multiple blends, just not cotton, with silks, with wool. We have a lot of blends in Khadi that we can wear throughout the seasons.
Mr. Garg, first thing I want to ask you is कि जो KVIC ने क्या-क्या initiatives ली हैं इसको promote करने के लिए?
सबसे जो अभी हमने लेटेस्ट जो चीज़ किया था, एयरपोर्ट के ऊपर हमने वर्ल्ड का सबसे लार्जेस्ट चरखा लगाया है। खादी इज हैंड स्पन हैंड वूवन, हाथ कता हाथ बुना। इसके लिए हमने टाई अप किया है कि रेमंड के साथ, और अभी बहुत सारे ऐसे फ्रेंचाइजी हम लोग देने वाले हैं कि आने वाले समय में आपको लगेगा शायद खादी ही खादी पूरी दुनिया में दिखाई देगी। मोदी जैकेट जो आज की डेट में बहुत फेमस है, उसको हमने इतने डिजाइन में लेडीज जेंट्स के लिए बनाया है, वो सर्दी गर्मी दोनों सीजन में चल सकती है।
Fashion is a pure art. It connects more with heart rather than mind. More we create, more we spread. We need to invent our ways. Fashion sector is blessed with great opportunities to spread. So I see, especially for fashion and especially for India, we have big opportunity to spread ahead. Here I would love to inform, Crimson Club is brand completely born in India, made in India, grown in India, has started its operations in United States also, and getting a very good acceptance and response from there. Finally, Make in India is in the making of 100 smart cities. If I estimate population of 2 million each, means we need 200 million smart people living there in the smart cities. So we need 200 million smart people to complete the 100 smart cities. And who will give the smart clothing to the smart population? I see, yes, Crimson Club is one out of them. Thank you.
My first question will be to David. They have been pioneers in, doing textiles, and few years ago they had developed this bridal wear, which we had featured also a long time ago. So I would like to ask him about the idea behind it, the philosophy behind it, and why is it important to sort of take traditional textiles and sort of move it forward.
The challenges, as Jinky was mentioning, us, how do we make traditional textiles attractive or usable in contemporary India? And this is an India which is changing as we speak. I mean, we know now that most of us are wearing ready-made clothes. Most of us are not wearing, unstitched garments. The tradition of Indian handloom has been basically weaving fabric for unstitched garments. And now, if the handloom industry is to survive into the future, it has to develop fabrics which can be cut and sewn.
If you see earlier in Banaras, it would be the typical motifs that were woven constantly, and we never really got out of our shell because we felt this is what is selling, and we continue to give the market what it was already selling. With the designers coming in, we got to experiment with what we are making, and we got out of our comfort zone, and we started making something different, and surprisingly that sold, and that was really taken very well in the market.
In India we always sort of go for gold jewelry, not even silver actually, because the value is not much. It's more sort of looked at as an investment piece. So in this kind of environment, how is she creating a new kind of language and sort of promoting it, selling it, and what's next?
I think we are slowly creating a new niche for jewelry. That niche cannot be segmented as artificial or imitation, but that niche is your branded concept jewelry. These are jewelry pieces which are as modern as it can get, but they still carry a strong Made in India tag. So for us, that's an interesting journey.
We looked at this anonymity of designers. We are creating, NIFT has focused jewelry design programs in Gandhinagar and Kolkata. NIFT Delhi and all the other programs have been working with jewelers. But most of our students are placed in the industry.
Dr. Jha, how do you work with students who are in that zone?
Evolution is probably the key that pushes all of us to a new realm of fashion, or even to creativity. And I think it's over the years where you change your own language, but yet stick to your own gut feeling of what you feel is right about your aesthetic, is what evolves you as a designer.
I was very scared that if I'll sell them and if they don't really work, then what do I do? So I think I didn't really doubt it, but I definitely strengthened the process. I took more training and I kept on doing, and I think I did a lot of, as Amit said, I think it takes a long time.
There's a blank page movement which happens every day. So a lot of times this is a everyday today fight in every creative person's life, where you get up and, there's like an extent where you start getting nightmares also at night. There are challenges every day which makes it what we are today.
Tradition is an important aspect to where we come from, but we also as human beings are on a race to reach somewhere, and I think that it's important that the traditional textiles are contemporized, or at least made relevant to the times, so that the younger generation doesn't just look at it as textile but also looks at it as fashion. So my idea is also to give a whole sense of fashion to what textiles would actually mean, and which could be the textiles for the future.
Where is the support? Are you getting it? Do you see that is there something that's needed currently to fill in some kind of gap, or is it good?
A country like India, I think there is a huge market. The fact that all of us are growing at a very fast pace. All your top labels now are textiles. The whole discourse of Indian fashion has changed from, the story of India is craft and textiles. That's what your story is. You cannot, that's what you know, and I think that's what you're good at.
We can, in a classroom situation, we can kind of brief them, but that experiential learning that comes from learning, sitting with the artisans and really imbibing the ethos of the craft.
How
has the bride, Indian bride, changed over the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years?
I remember when I was a teenager, which was just a couple of years ago, I saw a lot of young women go up and talk about getting her lehenga from Ritu Kumar. And that tradition is incredible because she stayed with it, and it continues to be a lot that brides come in. But now the times have changed, and I think the new bride or the new industry that has woken up is also distributed into different structures and different spaces. One is pure couture, which comes from the old Indian tradition handicraft, and the other is the contemporary version of couture, and it has a great sense of structure, it has a great sense of drape. Women today are not necessarily looking for things which are heavily embroidered.
For me, the Great Indian Wedding is truly reflective of India's diversity, culture, heritage, craftsmanship, and these are the four things that define India. For us, more particularly the brand, it's these four things that pretty much coincide in what we do. And I think Indian weddings and the Great Indian Weddings have a very large part in bringing that whole nostalgia alive in what we do as couturiers.
So many years before, they were, as Nikhil said, that Ritu Kumar was the epitome of aspirational design. People would go to her for the lehengas. I started with a little bit of a contemporarization of the vintage fabrics, textiles, and then styling it a little differently with the unusual color combinations.
When I first started my work in the field of embroidery, it was not that there was no bridal garments available. India has always had a very strong handwriting of bridal garments in different parts of the country with a different handwriting in each part. But in those days, what used to happen a lot is the saris were given to the embroiderers and they were weighed, and after the embroidery was done, they were weighed again and the difference was paid to the people who were doing the embroidery.
Thank you all very, very much for taking our time. And here's to some more great Indian weddings happening. Thank you.
Summits are supposed to achieve some results. The result is already achieved because my panelists first got an opportunity to talk about themselves, about their product, about their future things.
It's the first time that an event of this nature has been organized. It's about Make in India, which is such a nationally important and a relevant impetus by the government. And the fact that Mail Today has taken this initiative to organize this, it's a wonderful, wonderful event.